right, we're live here at the station of decapitation without your head. I am Nasty Neal.
I'm treacherous Trista.
And Terrible Troy will be here a little bit later in the program. I don't know what's going on, but he'll be here. We're joined by Scream Queen Brooke Lewis Bellas, and it's very good to have you back.
Guys, first of all, I'm honored to be here. Can I just say an acknowledgement to all of you that I could sit and watch your intro, commercial, video and song like 100 times, and I get like teary-eyed every time I do, honestly, because it is such historic horror, iconic content. The people, so many people I consider dear friends, people I have filmed with, people I have spent over 15 years now at horror conventions next to, talking with. I just get my heart fills with like love and gratitude. So I'm honored to be here, and after only a month, I'm so excited, and we get to talk more Slime City Massacre and horror stuff. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you for being back. By the way, it's Tomb and Nick Cage does our theme song, and sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, Trista, but I just want to say. Recently we had a problem with the website, and we had 15 years of content was almost lost, but I've been restoring it all and going through all of that. Though I had the same thought. I was like, wow, there's been a lot of people on the show, Angus Grimm and Ben Chapman from the original Creature from Black Lagoon, and modern people and stuff. And it's a proud feeling to know all these people have been on the show.
You should be proud, you guys. You've done an incredible job. You really have.
Yeah, it's very good to have you back. Yeah, it's only been like, but it was cool because the last time was a whole bunch of people, and we had both of us. We thought you were so much fun on the show. It'd be good to have you back and do a one-on-one interview, or I guess a one-on-one interview.
I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah. And by the way, tonight a lot of people were retweeting this and sharing it on Facebook. It took me a long time, but I printed out all the names and I've got them all in here. And then at the end of the show, we're going to give out a copy of Slime City Massacre signed by Brooke herself, which was a very great idea by her, and very nice of her to do so.
Even still in the plastic wrap, you guys, you see?
Oh, nice.
And I will open it and autograph it.
Very good. I was tempted to put myself in here, but I won't. I'm not eligible to win. So last time we had you on, you were talking about Red Rooms. I don't know if there's any updates on that.
So honestly, not too many. And I will say this, and I hope it's a great way to open the conversation. And again, shout out to my kindred soul, Suze Lanier-Bramlett, who you had on the show, and she was talking a bit about Red Rooms. So that's kind of what, introduced the conversation with us again. So Red Rooms is an incredible, horrific piece. And it is so incredibly intelligent. And I would expect nothing less from Joshua Butler. And let me rewind a second. So Joshua Butler and I met on the horror circuit back in 2008 when we were on the circuit with Robbie Bryan's I Murders, which I got to star in with Tony Todd, as we were just talking about the amazing Tony Todd. And Josh and I met. He had Vlog that was just produced by Twisted Pictures, which he was so fortunate to then have it picked up by MTV, which became a TV series. And that's like no easy feat. Now a lot of things are being picked up for streaming, et cetera, et cetera. But back then, that was not an easy feat. So he went on to do that, and he went on to become an incredibly successful television director. That being said, we became not just business associates, but best friends for many years. And we would have very intense conversations about where we wished and hoped one day our careers would go and what we wanted to create and make. And so, long story, many moons, ago, it started, and here we are. And what ended up happening was we had a conversation about potentially doing something like a vlog sequel about a year ago. And we started having development meetings. Cut to, I give my very long stories. I will try to shorten them. But the important notes are that in the fall, I had been involved in a bunch of projects. He and I decided to shoot a proof of concept for a piece for this vlog sequel. And then the pandemic hit. And so I was very early on inspired, because I'm like, I can never sit still. And I actually had been very sick the first couple of months of the year. So by March, I was going crazy. And I'm like, I've got to stay creative during this isolation time. So I reached out to Josh again and said, now feels like the time. I have a vision of how we can create something during the pandemic, stay creative so we don't lose our minds. What do you think of this? And I pitched him a similar idea to the proof of concept we had shot in LA so that we could kind of add to it and create this streaming podcast, web series, streaming series, whatever we want to call it now. And we would do it respectfully to the pandemic and COVID with everyone in isolation. But how some of the filmmakers are now going about doing this is, you're shooting your own material and then sending it to the production company. We wanted to do this I say this respectfully to anyone else, the professional way, the old school way. I'm very old school, and we felt that this was a great concept to attempt during this time. So we literally filmed this virtually. So we filmed every single actor in this piece from their location in isolation so that we were safe. I can't thank them enough because it's so much work on their part. That being said, we produced the hell out of it. Joshua had an umbrella story that he built around my story of having the isolation and where Red Rooms is very real. It's the deep, dark, dark web. It's satanic, it's sadistic, where similar to The Purge, wealthy people go, they pay a lot of money to sit virtually and watch people being abducted and held captive in these dark red rooms on the web where they pay to see them physically and mentally tortured. So I wanted to keep it realistic within our parameters of virtually shooting this as well. So we wanted to really make it what I love as an actress, especially, more of the thriller, psychological, like mind F, if you will. And so we did that. Josh has a whole umbrella story over it. And we filmed it pre-production, production, and we are still in post-production. And God bless Joshua Butler, because I will say this, he is a psycho crazy in a good way, like fanatical, and I'm a perfectionist, but he, has to dot every I, cross every T. He wants it to be absolutely aesthetically and CGI perfect. So we are still in post-production. We're still finishing editing, and that's where we are. And we can talk so much more about it, but I just want to say this. It was an incredible experience. And, being on the producer side, and Philly Chick Pictures, my company, executive producer, producing it, sitting back and sitting in like what we had said, like a little video village. I would call in via FaceTime. Joshua would be in his production house at his house, filming our actors via Skype. We made a very conscious choice to film via Skype. And it was so wild. Like I'd be sitting back in my own little video village, truly watching everything, giving my producerial notes that he would then give to the actors, and giving him the space he needed as the director. And it was just an incredible experience. So anyone who is looking to do this technically, I share details because it was a wild ride.
Interesting. Because I think, a lot of people have producer credits on stuff, and it's kind of like a name only. They might have had a name, and to get involved, they want a producer credit. But you have a lot of producer credits, and like you were talking about there, you actually produced it. When did you get involved in that side of the business?
First of all, let me just thank you 100 times for that acknowledgement, because as Trista and I were talking about before air, like about getting a little bit jaded in the industry, and I have to be very mindful not to be. And those are the reasons sometimes, Trista, that I do feel frustrated, and I want to be open about that, and a little jaded because of all these credits that are being thrown around. So thank you. How I got into it was I started as an actress. I'd been doing musical theater for many years, and then started, making a living acting as soon as I moved to New York right out of college. And when I had moved, after 5 years almost of making a living as an actress in New York, I moved to LA, and I didn't have contacts here. I had an agent. I didn't know anyone. So I'm like, okay, I can either sit on my big butt and just wait for the phone to ring, as they say, the old cliche, or I can get into the trenches and start producing. And so I did. I took many classes. I took many workshops, and little did I know, and sometimes, hindsight's 20/20, little did I know that I had really been producing a bit even back in New York when I was very young while I was acting, because I was the actress that would, I'm a social butterfly, and I'm always like let me try to better anything that I'm involved in. So I would jump in and be like, oh, you need an actor for that role. I know that actor, that soap opera star. I can bring that to the table. Or I have that location. I have a contact. I know the owner of that bar. And so I was naturally producing unbeknownst to me. So when I moved to LA, didn't have anyone like spoon feeding me anything here. I've had to work really, really hard to have what little I do have. And I do think it's very little in my humble opinion. So I started Philly Chick Pictures, my production company, and really worked hard to become what I hope is a professional producer, that I'm not just taking credits. I've never, ever, I wish it were that easy for me. I've never just taken a credit. I've always worked for every producer credit I have. And so I think it's really important to do that to maintain professionalism and integrity. And I started reaching out to investors, to other actors who had contacts to investors, packaging myself through my little indie film company. And this is now in 2002 when I moved to LA. So you see how many years we're talking now. And it's been a crazy, wild ride, but it was really the only way I could create a platform for myself. I mean, I really did create my own career in LA. New York was much easier for me when you're young, when you're signed with top tier agents, but LA was never my friend in that way. And so I had to create everything I did. So I had no choice but to get in the trenches and fully produce, executive produce. And so that's something that I'm very proud of, actually.
Did you have that in mind when you went to LA, or was it out of necessity once you were in LA?
Great question. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would become a producer. I didn't realize, and sometimes you don't realize in life until you do something, how good you actually are. And I say that again humbly, but like even in college, I was president of my sorority, no surprise, so I was managing like 100 crazy, hormonal girls in college, managing their personalities. And so I think it takes a strong leader and a non-judgmental, fair person and personality to be able to have the skills to do that. And so I look back and I go, wow, I've been sort of producing for a very long time. I was doing a lot of charity work. I don't mean to change the subject, but I'm making a point that like now these are things that come very naturally to me. And so I did it out of necessity, but probably was destined to do that with my sort of the way my mind and works in business, because I really truly want to better a project if I'm able.
A couple times we were talking beforehand too, and you mentioned here you knew you were good at it, and then you also said, and you say this humbly, and I always think you have to have, some people call it an ego, and I think it's more confidence in yourself if you're going to make it in any type of show business. But how do you balance that with also, without having like an ego and, staying humble?
That is an incredible question, because I'm going to get emotional, you guys. I'm very emotional, just let everyone know. And I want to acknowledge the pandemic and that a lot of us are still in isolation and we're feeling a lot of heavy things. And I'm very spiritual. And like, I struggle with that every day, you guys, still. And I have to work through it. And like, it's a very fine line, because I have to check my ego at the door. And I've worked very hard to do that, because there's a fine line between going, okay, I need to know my value. And I really want the young viewers and listeners to hear what I'm saying right now. If I can impart any old gal wisdom on the show today, and ever, I'd like to. And Trista, you're a younger actress, and, it's so important to maintain and know our value and know what we bring to the table and trust it and not give our power away. And I'm going to go here, but I love men like nobody's business. I love my husband, but like, it's that much more challenging for women. And I stand behind that, and not I'm such a girl power person, but I'm not like a man hater in any way. It's just that I think women in this business, it's that fine line between, okay, if I speak my truth, then I'm a bitch, and I've always been, and I struggle with wanting to be loved, wanting to be liked, wanting to be validated. And I share that openly. I'm very insecure. So like you said, you know, there's such a fine line, and there's times, and it's getting better as I get older, but there are so many times on a film set where it's me, I'm the only female producer with a group of men, you know, and I have to struggle so much with not allowing my emotions to get in, staying in that confident place, staying in that empowered place. And it is so freaking hard. So I struggle with that still. I still do. But I think there's nothing sexier than humility. And as Trista and I were having a conversation, being actresses, being in the indie film world and in Hollywood, no less, where it's probably, you know, the top of the line of what you have to deal with. And so, you know, you just want to stay clear. You want to stay honest. You want to stay honest with yourself and I think I'm very honest about my station in life and in the industry and where I sit. I'm not as, I don't want to steal Trista's words, but delusional. And we know a lot of people in the industry who are, you know, so I think that's probably, and I'm discovering this, I'm talking to you guys to answer the question. Like, I think that's probably a big part of it is that epiphany of going, okay, reality check, humility, check your ego at the door, do your damn job, do it with love, passion. We do it because we love it. It's that stupid cliche, like we said, like, you know, the journey. And it's like, I mean, it is. It's like you have to embrace the journey because we have no idea what's at the other side or at the end. We just don't. And real quickly, I just want to add, because we talked about this a little bit off air before, like if my, and I'm grateful to even have fans or even friends, some of my business associates, when they're like, wow, I watched that interview you did. And like, I had no idea. I was signed with top tier agents at 22 years old in New York City. I was doing an off-Broadway equity show and making a very decent living at it, you know, and doing a ton of raw indie films way before my horror explosion, which I'm so grateful for, because that really put me on the map in the indie film world. But like all of those things and all of the executive TV meetings at major studios that I sat in where they were developing shows around me and stuff, those are the things, and then they failed or didn't get picked up, or the pilots that didn't get picked up. And so those are the things that you don't see. And so for the viewers and all the aspiring young actors, like, I support you and encourage you 1,000%, but just know there are no guarantees. And I don't want to say that in a negative way or be jaded, but there are none. So you do it because you love it, because there's nothing else that fills your soul or inspires you. And that is why you do what you do.
I think that's good advice actually for whatever you're doing.
Yes.
You know, because if you do make something out of it, then it's a bonus if you love it in the first place. I don't want to take all that time there, Trista. Did you have something to add there? Because, you know, you guys were talking a lot, you know, before we went live.
I do, Brooke. You're so fascinating to me because, you know, you're obviously very intelligent and realistic, and as you say, jaded in your own words. However, like, to me, you're just a walking heart. Like, that's why I'm drawn to you and I adore you, because I'm definitely an empath, and that's something I see in you 100%. So I'm wondering how you juggle the dichotomy of being jaded and savvy in this business, but also obviously you're very emotional, as you just said.
Thank you. And you know, I adore you, love you. We've shared, you know, little time together in person, but when we have, they've been very powerful. I'm getting emotional, like very powerful and impactful moments, and sad at times with people we've loved. And, you know, and I'm such a fan of yours from The Human Race. And we talked about that, you know, years ago. Everyone watch this film. Hi, Eddie. I love you, you know, but I saw her. I should have been a casting director. I'm always like, that person's going to be a star. That person's super freaking talented. And you are. So I probably, thank you for sharing the empathic part, because, you know, I'm insane. I'm not psychic. My psychic friends say I'm psychic, but I'm so empathic and I feel so much and so hard. And sometimes it's so incredibly painful. And that's what makes you a great actress. And it's what I aspire to use to be good when I think I have those few good moments that I go, wow, that was an incredible moment as an actress. I felt it, then I know I nailed it, because it's so pure and so real. You know, and it's interesting because I'm feeling as I go, and that's such a great question, like, because I think that's where, to have success as a female producer and I'm still working toward this because I haven't managed it yet. It's where I think you have to separate that you have to have empathy as a human being, but you have to separate that emotion from the wisdom, from knowing you're doing your job, all of that. That being said, taking it a step further to answer your question, again, to manage it, this is something I struggle with. This is something I have to work on every day. And so how I do it is, I have an incredible camp of professionals around me. There's no way for me, I can't speak for anyone else, for me to be in this industry without having a support system. I mean, and that starts with, family, obviously my incredible husband, who I don't know how he puts up with my insanity, but my team of professionals, Lori Bertazan, who is my life coach. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have her to confide in and talk to in confidence. Shout out to Michelle Colt. And if you've never taken any of her actress empowerment courses, you should. She is incredible. I love you, Michelle. Mitra Rabar is one of my psychic healers of almost 20 years. So I have a stable, one of my best friends, Marilyn Aloria, she's like an incredible psychic healer coach. I have a stable of professional women that surround me professionally to keep me from not going under mentally and emotionally, honestly, and keep me goal setting and keep me on point. So shout out to all of them because it's so important. And I encourage everyone in the business, male, female, doesn't matter, to have a support system like that. Even more importantly to me is my personal. And that is, I am at the age and at the point in my life and career, and they carry over, unfortunately, quite often, that I am choosing and I'm making a very conscious effort to work with, to be around, to surround myself personally and professionally with like-minded people, with people who support one another. That means me supporting them equally to them supporting me, with people who believe in me as I believe in them, with people who want to bring out the best in me as I want to in them. And listen, here's a reality check, everyone. Not everyone is on your same energy path, is on your same train. Not everyone wants to see you succeed. And that is not maybe it is the jaded bitter in me, but that is my truth. That is the truth. So surround yourself with people who bring out the best in you. And for me, if I get to choose who I want to work with, I want to work with directors because I'm an actress who needs direction, and I own that because I get too caught up in my crazy Virgo head here. And so I second guess myself instead of being in the moment sometimes. And I own that. And that's because I know when I have an amazing director who can pull out the best in me as an actress, right? Just shaking your head, then that's who I need to work with. That's who I want and choose to work with. Someone who says, no, Brooke, I know you can do better. Kick my ass, give me that tough love, bring out that depth, and that's what I want for my career. But I also want that in my friendships and my life. And so I'm working on that diligently too, because there's a lot of negative energy right now in the world, let's say, obviously, realistically, and my heart breaks for people who are suffering, but also prior to COVID, I think I'm just at a point in my life, and the industry has changed so dramatically and so drastically over the last 10 years, as we know. And I remember my heyday, 2000, my heyday in horror, let's say that. So 2007, 2008, 2010, 2011, it's so different for me, and I can only speak for me now. And so I want to manifest that again. I want to manifest and I know I'm rambling, but I hope I'm giving good advice and helping women, especially who are watching this right now. All I want is to manifest, even if it's quality over quantity. Sorry about that. Quality over quantity, right? And if I don't need to do 5 films a year, but let me do 1 or 2 incredible films or streaming series or what have you with wonderful professional people. I'm good at this point. I'm honestly good. I know that was a lot, but I hope it helps someone.
By the way, Troy's here with us, and Gregory Lamberson here in the chat room says, hello, Troy, and he missed you last time.
I know. Hi, Troy. Welcome. Listen, dude, we're getting super deep here. We're having intense, this is like a therapy session.
No, I was just kind of absorbing everything. I was just kind of...
Take notes.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. All
Greg
seemed like good,
Lamberson.
solid advice.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Neal.
No, I was just saying, Greg Lamberson also added, "Doesn't LA suck?" with a question mark.
Okay, first of all, out of my acknowledgments at the end, Greg Lamberson's at the top of the list. Greg, I love you. Shout out to our Slime City Massacre crew. Everybody, happy anniversary, our 10-year release, Slime City Massacre and Slime City, the double DVD. Check it out, buy it, support us. One of my greatest experiences ever on an indie film. And again, when I say, and I'm going to cry again, Greg knows I'm a big mushball, like, when I say, and we went through it, so I don't have to repeat it with what we experienced on the show last time with the reunion, like, talk about working with like-minded people who are super freaking intelligent, super hardworking, bust their ass to create something that they're passionate about. Shout out everybody. And I'm not in it, but I gotta shout out to Widow's Point, Greg's new film that I rented to support on demand. So good. And Craig Sheffer, forget it. Incredible performance, incredible.
It was really great in the movie,
right? So everybody check that out. But I love you, Greg, and just LA is challenging. It's challenging, so that's why I have to have my stable of like therapists all around me.
That's real quick. In Widow's Point, he really he's like right on the borderline of over the top, but he totally works in the movie. He's perfect in the movie. Yeah,
totally.
And I won't spoil the movie, but the end is amazing. Yeah.
Yes, and Greg, because I'm so glad he's watching. I'm so honored. I love him so much, and I can't wait to do Slime City Apocalypse with him and the beautiful Debbie Rochon. He's gonna kill me right now, but I'm so glad you're watching. But everything with Greg is slightly over the top, but that's Greg, and that's what we love about him, and that's why he hires actresses like me. Yeah. And so, but you also know that
Killer Rack is not a really grounded, realistic film.
Exactly.
Which you might think by the title, but yeah.
Right. But let me say this, and the one thing that always drew me to Greg's work was, and especially Killer Rack, and people like gave us so much shit for Killer Rack, but number one, it's always the subtext. The subtext in every piece that Greg does is brilliant. It's so smart. If you really read into it when you read the script, And the other thing is, I'm such a natural born philanthropist that when we did Killer Rack and we did all kinds of breast cancer charities, with it and all, it was so amazing, so powerful stuff. And that's the kind of stuff I want to be a part of.
Yeah, I would think if you just saw the name and maybe the premise, you would think it's a totally different kind of movie, and maybe it's like exploitation kind of movie, but it's not. Like you said, the subtext is totally different.
Totally.
But along those lines, before you knew Greg, and Slime City Massacre comes up, and you just see the name, like what do you think initially? Because you don't know him yet or anything,
I don't, and that was 100 years ago. That was actually Greg and I first were introduced beginning of 2008, because that's when my first real introduction. I mean, remember I had done Tony and Tina's Wedding off Broadway. I had done, I had a little recurring role on the Fox sitcom Quintuplets. So I had done a lot of comedy and monster movies and stuff like that, right? Pride and Loyalty, which is on Amazon Prime with Ken Del Vecchio. And so then I had my first real introduction when after 2004, I went to Sundance. I'm going to get to it, but I went to Sundance 04 and watched the original Saw, and knew that something was going to happen with the psychological horror. So I went back to someone I'd worked with a lot, Ken Del Vecchio, back in New York. And I just moved here, and I said, okay, I will work with you and produce with you and executive produce with you. I will be your LA liaison. Let's create, or you can write a psychological horror thriller for me. I will, and I really had no introduction into horror myself yet. I was just a fan. And so we did that. Long story long, it was titled Polycarp. And I got to work with the most incredible actors, God rest his soul, Oscar-nominated Charles Durning from Dog Day Afternoon and Tootsie, and Michael Pare, Eddie and the Cruiser, Streets of Fire, who I love to this day. He's my friend. And Brandon Slagle, who's gone on to become not just an actor, but a really good director. And so these awesome people, Eric Edibari from Witchblade, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so it gets picked up. Universal picks it up. And then Showtime picks it up, which little did I know, I was born then to be a new It Scream Queen, again, said humbly. But so 2008, it gets released. Showtime picks it up. It airs like 3 nights a week for 2 years. I'm getting fan mail. It was like, blew my mind. And back then, this film was shot on 35 and we were like, and it's on Showtime 3 nights a week. I mean, it was nuts. So it really was my first, and they're calling me a new It Scream Queen. So it was like, this is amazing. So that being said, I then, long story long, went on to do, I'm saying it for a reason, I went on to then do I Murders, which was my next direct offer, which I was one of the executive producers, Robbie Bryan's film, which I got to star in with Tony Todd and William Forsythe and Gabrielle Anwar and Frank Grillo and blah, blah, blah. Unbelievable. So I bring it up because here's 2 mystery thrillers, and I am such an OG Hitchcock fan and an OG Brian De Palma fan. Shout out to Stacey Lane Wilson. So that was my jam. I was like, okay, I'm going to become like a Hitchcock, like I'm going to be the next like Tippi Hedren, who I love, who I've done horror conventions with, the beautiful, beautiful woman she is. So that was sort of my dream goal, or Nancy Allen in Blowout. And so then Will, as we mentioned, from Horror Yearbook at the time, comes and makes an introduction to Greg Lamberson and I, and he's like, you should look at Brooke if you're going to do Slime City Massacre. You're going to do the sequel 20 years later to Slime City. So this is way more cult, underground, raw horror, which I love as a fan, but hadn't done it. So Greg sends me the script and says, take a look. There's a few roles you'd be great for, if you want to come on and help produce. So I ended up coming on as a co-producer and brought a bunch of stuff to the table, I hope. And so I read it and I just right away, and here's a choice just to share for other actresses watching. I ended up choosing a supporting role. I chose the role of Nicole, the prostitute from 1959. She spoke to me. And then there were other logistics around it with shooting schedules. And so I did that. But when he first sent it to me, I'm like, okay, I just was on Showtime, had a film distributed with Universal, I Murders, Stars on TV, and Anchor Bay at the time, and I'm like, okay, do I do a film with the title Slime City Massacre? And Greg's like, just shut up and read it. And Greg, he's such a straight shooter. He doesn't mess around. He's like, just shut up and read it, Brooke. You're going to like it. So I'm like, okay. So I read it. I fall in love with it. I fall in love with Nicole. I fall in love with Greg's intensity and passion for the project. He sends me a copy, a DVD of the original Slime City. I fall in love with Robert Sabin and Mary Bogle. And I'm just like, okay, I've got to do this. And I do my due diligence and I start researching online. I start researching the original. And I'm like, this is a cult classic. I'm like, what an incredible honor to be a part of a sequel to a cult classic that has a built-in fan base, that has this like really old school New York energy and vibe. And I'm in LA at this time by now, right? So I'm like, gotta do it. I gotta do it. And the rest is history. I mean, and then I brought him Lee Perkins that got to star in it, and Debbie picked the lead role to play, and and Lloyd Kaufman does a cameo. And so for all the so I learned so much from Greg, and I learned so much from Debbie Rochon, who is such a brilliant, beautiful, not only actress, human being. I love you, Debbie. She's so talented. And so it was such a great introduction for me into the cult world of horror. And I would do it again when we do Slime City Apocalypse.
Yes, I was very happy that after the Slime City Massacre show we did on Twitter, it became almost trending.
Viral.
People were posting about it. Yeah,
it went viral thanks to you guys. So now we have to do it.
It shows, Greg, that there's interest there. So I hopefully something comes of it.
He's going to kill me right now. He's going to tell me to shut up and tell me until we can raise over $300,000, we're not doing it. I know him so well.
Right. Let's see. AJ wants to know the Scream Queen title is such a huge honor. What past or present Scream Queens would you love to work with?
So it is a huge honor. And again, it's something that I want the horror fans and viewers and friends to know, like, it's not something, and I've spoken about this for years now, that I take lightly. I didn't wake up one day and just go, okay, I'm going to go, pour blood on my boobs and become a Scream Queen. Like, it was bestowed upon me.
I tried that. It didn't work.
It didn't work.
Typical Neal.
So really, again, Kinky Killers with the Showtime situation is what bestowed the title upon me, and then, you know, Eimers, and then Slime City Massacre solidified it. So for me, I've always said this, and I will quote what I said on the red carpet at the Spike TV Scream Awards 2010. And for me, a Scream Queen is like a powerful, talented actress in horror. And I'm honored is right. And so for me, I mean, I've got to shout out to my girl, Suze Lanier-Bramlett again, who's one of my soul sisters. And I've actually worked with her now several times in Red Rooms. She's one of the stars of Red Rooms, but we also did, everybody go check out Suze Lanier-Bramlett's video that I got to star in with her and Michael Berryman. So you want to talk about like real deal horror, The Hills Have Eyes. And we did Watch What You Ask For in 2012. It's such a cute music video. So love you, Suze. I have gotten to, God, I have photos I'll have to send you guys. I mean, I've gotten to do horror conventions, first and foremost, like Adrienne Barbeau. I mean, to me, I would give anything for her career. You know, she's a brilliant actress. She started on television. She did the crossovers, you know, I mean, Creep Show, The Fog, I could list on and on. She's incredible. And then, so I look at, like, to me, those are my inspirations, like Susan D. Wallace, Cujo, The Hills Have Eyes. You can go back even further. These actresses that I would give anything. And then I have to shout out to Ms. Vampy's favorite actress in the world, which is Elvira, Cassandra. I mean, again, she's such an icon. So, you know, and I was a little girl watching Elvira practically, you know, we all were. So those are those. And then, you know, on the indie scale, there's just so many brilliant, and I don't want to leave out any of my friends, but, you know, Debbie Rochon, like I mentioned, and I've known the beautiful Tiffany Shepis since she's a child in New York practically, you know, and she's so talented, and Felissa Rose, and we've all worked together at this point, you know, so I have to mention them. And then let's shout out to the next generation. Let's talk about Trista, who I think is brilliant, and let's talk about Jessica Cameron, who's a dear friend of mine, and let's talk about Devaney Pinn, and I mean, and Debra Lamb, who we talked about has had, like, the ebbs and flows and keeps pushing through and sticking it out and kicking ass. So, you know, for me, and I'm probably going to get in trouble when I say this, but I'm going to speak my truth like I always do. It's not a title you just wake up one day and go, I'm a Scream Queen. It's a title that you earn. You pay your dues, you do good work, you kind of earn it. And so, and I know there's so many more, please forgive me that I'm forgetting, but that's, you know, oh, and I'm sorry, I have to shout out to Jamie Lee Curtis because she's my end all be all obvious pick. So there you have it.
Yeah. They're all great picks, honestly. Yeah. Adrienne Barbeau is one of my favorites. Well, multiple time guest, but not since we've been to video. We'll have to get Adrienne back on.
Get her back. You'll have 1 million viewers.
Thank you for including me in that.
I meant it. You know that. Human race, everyone.
I agree with her as well. Yeah. And not just because she's our fellow creep here on the show. I agree.
Yep.
Greg wants to know, do you sing?
He just wants to bust my balls, doesn't he? He wants to bust my balls. I love you, Greg. So where do I begin? Not anymore so much. I used to. Yes, that was part of my thing when I was a musical theater girl. So I was a one-hit wonder in college. Yes, I was. And in New York and New Jersey, I was signed with a record label, and I had one hit titled Get Me Off Your Mind. Yes, I said it, which Metropolitan Records released. I used to do, like, obviously with my big hair, and I'm like a Philly, Jersey, New York girl at heart, you know, so I would go and dance at, like, the dance clubs in New York and stuff. They called me a little Madonna back in the day, and I would lip sync this song. However, Greg brings it up because trivia question. Does anyone know, I'll let the fans, anyone watching, does anyone know what film it was in? It was part of the music in this film. Anyone want to answer?
I don't know. Does Trista know? I thought her eyes kind of lit up. I don't know. Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I do not know.
Greg knows. What scene in what movie did we use Get Me Off Your Mind, the dance song?
I like how you turn this back around on him. Nice work.
Oh, yeah.
So it's in Killer Rack. It's in a scene where they're dancing, like there's dance music. It's freaking hysterical. And now I have to be honest, like it's become like a trend. In fact, I got to shout out for those of you who like films outside of horror, a really, really incredible indie gem of a comedy that I did, like a dramedy that I had an amazing role entitled Half New Year, which was on demand 1 year ago, came out on demand for 3 months. And such an incredible role for me as Pam DeLuca. Shout out to Drew McInerney, who's like my little brother in real life and the movie, and Tom Arash, our director, Georgia Manides, and I don't want to forget anyone, but I bring it up because they needed a dance song. And I got to shout out to Rochelle Royale, who's freaking hot as can be, and she really composes a lot of the music that's in the film. She's an incredible singer and dear friend of ours. But they needed one more dance song for like a party scene. So we used Get Me Off Your Mind in Half New Year as well. And it's like, why not? You know how much money I'm owed in residuals from the company? Listen, everybody in indie music knows it's probably worse than our residuals in indie film.
Greg's wondering if he's being interviewed now. But John Wood says hello. He is in here.
Oh, wait, John Wood?
Yeah.
We love John Wood. Oh, John, I can't turn my computer around because I'll mess up my whole jam here in my office. But John Wood, I have the most amazing gift that John Wood, he has been the biggest, like, Slime City Massacre, Killer Rack, fan, friend, supporter. Debbie, Rochon, and I love him. And he has illustrated and created and designed the most incredible gifts for Debbie and I. And I have on my wall, I don't even know if John knows this, I'll have to take a picture and tweet it later. He designed and drew the most incredible picture of me from Killer Rack, but it's like a little like bunny suit for Easter. And I look like a little Playboy, like a pink Playboy bunny with pink bunny ears. It is the cutest thing. I have it on my wall. I do I'm going to cry, not like even for me to say it is like weird because again, I'm so humble about, but I have fans. I thank you all. And I go to my office PO box and I'm so grateful because yes, I get a ton of email, fan mail, but I still get hard copy fan mail. Of course, everybody's asking for autographed pictures and autographed DVDs, and someone's going to win one tonight, but I still have that. And I'm so blessed and grateful for it all these years that it just makes me feel like I did do something right in this crazy industry. And so I do get a lot of gifts from fans still, from clothes to illustrations. And I have a whole side wall over there with some of my favorite just pictures, illustrations that people have gifted me over the years. And thank you, John. Yours is there. And I will tweet I'm spitting. I will tweet I'm getting emotional. And I'm like, trying not to cry. I will tweet out a photo later of that beautiful bunny picture.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing it myself. I want to see the bunny picture.
So cool. So cool.
Yeah. We didn't get to, we talked about him last time. Michael here passed away. But do you have any specific memories or stories that stand out to you?
I do. And fortunately, I was blessed to work in scenes with him, quite a few on Slime City Massacre. So I can say personally, in this business, I have worked with a lot of actors and I've been very fortunate and I've been unfortunate at times. And he is one of the fortunate ones. And I don't say it because he should rest in peace right now. We've recently lost him for all the Slime City Massacre fans. Very sad. And so he was just one of the kindest, most generous actors in every way. And Trista will attest to this. Like when you get an actor to work opposite who truly wants you to, like I said earlier, do better, be better, wants to hold you up and uphold you to whatever you need as an actor to bring out your best. That is what Michael gave to everyone that he worked with. He couldn't work hard enough on that film. And I know Greg says on many others where he just gave and gave. And he was a local Buffalo hometown guy who worked his butt off to do what he loved. And that's what I'm talking about. He had so much passion. He was a theater actor. And the biggest thing I remember is, honestly, some of my favorite still photos of any film come from Slime City Massacre, and Michael shot them of me. And the one that you have, the two that you have actually on the beautiful banner that you guys made for me for the show. And thank you so, so much. But the one of Nicole with the cigarette, with her hair fall, from 1959. He took that with me slightly turning, and it's one of my favorite pictures ever. I use it as one of my autograph still shots for conventions and stuff, and autographs for fans. And then the one where my hair is kind of crazy big, which I love, and I'm looking to the side, and that's one of my favorite photos from Slime City Massacre too, and that's on the banner. And thank you, rest in peace, Michael. He was amazing. Yeah.
That's how I got Trista to agree to be on the show, because she thought she looked cool in the banner I made.
It's true. Very ego driven.
She's very ego driven. No, she's not. She's so sweet and so humble. Can I fire back a question? I mean, Trista, you asked me such great questions. And yeah, like I want to fire back to you, and maybe you can teach me something, because I'm learning every day still, and I know I'm older than you, but how do you manage it? How do you manage the balance of the craziness and the negativity of our, especially the indie film world, you know, and I know that we're now, like, things just get rapid fire at us, you know. It's like, how do you manage the balance of staying sane, choosing healthy projects for you, and dealing with the sort of competition and negativity that we sometimes deal with?
It's a great question. I was not prepared to answer questions, but I don't know if I know the answer. I try to glob on to like-minded people. We have a lot of mutual friends. There's a lot of good, smart people that are doing it for the right reasons. And in my life, I think I've been very, very fortunate to meet a lot of those people. And then I'm almost surprised and hurt and confused when I stumble upon people that aren't like-minded and aren't doing it for the right reasons, because maybe I'm a little insular. So I might be like on the sheltered side rather than jaded, because I've just been very fortunate to work with good people and work with my friends. And I feel so convicted, maybe almost too convicted. Like maybe sometimes I see people, peers or colleagues, and I'm like, oh, this person's not taking themselves that seriously. And then I check myself. I'm like, well, life is short. Like, is my art like really this serious? Like, I'm not a doctor. Like, maybe it's not that serious. You know what I mean? So I think constantly checking myself. And I thought about doctor because my roommate's a doctor, and we're in a pandemic and everything is scary. And that helps me stay humble. You know, that's a real quick reality check when I'm just like, oh, people didn't like my movie. And she comes home like, oh, I saved a baby's life, or like a man died. And, you know, like,
yeah,
life and death stuff helps me keep things in perspective, I think.
So like reality,
I try. Reality is great, because I was telling you before we started recording that I worked with Debra Lamb, and we had this, you know, she has stuck it out for a long time. And we had this conversation about delusional people and how sometimes it can be, you know, if someone tells me their movie is changing the world, I have concerns, right? Or like their vanity project is life altering. I have concerns. If someone like Suze, I was very struck by her wisdom, having her on the show and her saying like, look, I'm not saying my career is the most important thing. There are more important things in life right now. She's also a Renaissance woman. She's hugely talented, hugely aspirational. But her humility and wisdom and intellect is just as strong as her talent. And I really admire her and people like that. And it makes sense to me that you guys are friends. And I'd love to know more about your friendship with her, actually. But go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, speaking of Susan, she's such a great example because she's such an inspiration for me. And we met, funny enough, almost 14 years ago we were the two Scream Queen guests on a radio show. So it was in studio years ago, and we both had films that were releasing. So, and we bonded instantly. You know, we're both short, both voluptuous. She's like blonde. You know, I mean, but that being said, she is, I feel, and I want to be very respectful when I say this, you know, I don't always feel like I have that many, and I have so many incredible female women in my life. So let me say that. A lot of them, I'm interestingly enough, these days are not in the industry. So that's good. It keeps me grounded. But Suze is. And I find sometimes, like you just said, and I love Debra Lamb too. She's such a great spirit. We were saying that, her energy. We love you, Deb, your energy. But a lot of times I find women to be delusional in the industry, you know, and think that they are Jennifer Aniston when they're doing, you know, indie films like we are. And it's like, okay, no, a lot of our peers are not even making a living acting and producing. Let's be honest about it. Stop fronting. That being said, back to Susan, what I want to say is she is one staple in my life as a woman in the industry who we actually have a very intense relatedness. So she's someone that when and we do it, and I know she always says to me, you're so wise, you're so young, but you're so wise. And she'll call me for advice. I'll call her for advice. But I mean, here's a woman who, you know, like we're very paralleled in a lot of ways, but I talk to her, and even though she's, you know, older than I am, she worked with Tennessee Williams, you know, on Broadway. I was blessed when I was very young in New York before, this is so cool, I just have to give a quick share, like before I ever became a scream queen or ever had a break in horror, and I'm talking like, you know, 23 years old or something in New York, I had gotten cast in a rock opera titled, at the time it was titled The Cure. It's now titled In My Blood, and I've actually optioned it, and big shout out to Mark Weiser, who's a musical genius, but I optioned it years ago, and we're working, I don't want to say trying, I hate that word, but we're committed to making it one day. It's a vampire rock opera, and it's a tragedy, and it's beautiful, and it's about a coven of vampires, and it's one of my passion dream pieces that I only hope I can make. And the female lead role is a role that I would die to play, and I'd have to take a lot of serious singing lessons. Again, that being said, I bring it up, when we had workshopped it back in New York 100 years ago, I had the blessing to be directed by Tom O'Horrigan. He is now passed on, but Tom O'Horrigan directed Hair and Jesus Christ Superstar on Broadway, the originals. That's how old Tom O'Horrigan was. So Suze and I talk about experiences like that, where we've worked on Broadway with Broadway directors, where she was signed with, you know, a top tier agency. I was signed with a top tier agency. We laugh about all, when we talk TV work and TV pilots, and like I said earlier, we laugh about the TV pilots that we both had done that never aired, never got picked up, never got made, whatever, you know, or aired once and then got canceled, and those experiences. So we share a lot of that. And she's one of the few people I feel that in my close circle that I can talk to about TV stuff, about the past and what it was like versus now. You know, like Greg and I can have that conversation about indie film, but we're talking about women. So I'm very grateful for Suze for that. And I have to take the opportunity to shout out to, when it comes to like TV and that higher level of conversation in the industry, shout out to one of my other best friends, which you all know, and I love you so much. And she's one of my soul sisters who supports, and she was tweeting with us too, Denise Gossett. Denise Gossett, who is not only the owner and director of Shriekfest, which is coming up, which she's one of my lists to shout out to too. I have to tell you that I am a judge for Shriekfest 2020, her 20.
I had it in my notes, yeah.
Yes, so you saw we were all tweeting that, so I have to shout out to that. I want to save that for the end, but I'll say it now, and why I bring her up is like, so Denise is another one that she's such an incredible actress. And I don't even know if people know that, you know, and I think a lot of the horror world, like I don't consider her scream queen because she's so legit. And I don't even know if the horror world sees her and knows how talented she is versus she's the famous Denise from Shriekfest. So I bring her up because we will get on the phone, and, you know, she's now living half in Florida and half in LA. So now it makes me sad because we used to have our coffee talks, but we will get on the phone for hours and bitch about business and bitch about, you know, how we both tested for a TV pilot. So I have, you know, it's so nice to have that, like you said, Trista, like-minded women around to talk about, you know, and everybody has their expertise. I mean, I got to shout out one of my other besties, Stacey Lane Wilson, you know, we can talk about Second Age of Aquarius if you want to, if we have time, that I get to act in, and she and Darren Gordon Smith created, and it's a twinge of sci-fi, so we'll stick with the genre, and everybody knows because we tweet out constantly and post stuff, and I don't know if you can see, and I'm probably going to get into trouble, but that was one of my birthday gifts from her this year on the wall, and it's a banner from Aquarius. Such a great role. I got to play Tawny Stevens. Amazing. So shout out to her and Darren Gordon Smith and Nancy Long and Aaron Kai for the beautiful poster and artwork. That being said, Stacey's someone who is a veteran, who has been, she grew up in Hollywood. Trista's shaking her head. Grew up in Hollywood. She grew up in a famous family. Her dad is Don Wilson from The Ventures. Her mom was Bunny Bacon, rest her soul, and one of the most beautiful women you've ever seen. She was a pinup model. Anyway, I'm like praising my friends, but she's one of my besties too. Stacey and I could talk and laugh for hours, and we do, about indie film and about film. And she's such a film like cinephile. And like, again, she's one that stays so grounded with me, and we laugh at people who we love, but sometimes who are like, oh yes, I'm freaking Elvira, and sorry, but you're not, and I'm not. And we are able to keep each other sort of very realistic and grounded while committing to making quality work. A shout out to our film Psychotherapy, to all the horror fans. It's a short. You can watch it on Amazon Prime, on the real Amazon Prime for pay. You can watch it on Hyvio. You can watch it on, it'll be on Vire soon. So I did a really good distribution deal with that film. So I got to star in that Stacey wrote me the role opposite. Shout out to horror veteran Ricky Dean Logan, who also stars in Red Rooms, who's brilliant in both, but brilliant in Red Rooms. And so again, so back to Stacey, we commit as women to doing the best we can with what we have. And we do hopefully quality work with very little, to be honest. I mean, honest to God, Psychotherapy, what was it, $9,000 that we spent on a short, but a quality short, I hope, just the same, and Second Age of Aquarius, low budget, micro budget film, but it's pretty freaking incredible. And so I feel joyful when I talk about this and when I talk about the women in my life, because I'm very, very blessed. I mean, I could shout out to so many. And one of my other soul sisters and besties, who's such a cult classic genre celebrity star, Marilyn Gigliotti from Clerks. And she's a super mega star, so talented too. And so we can have these sort of like-minded conversations. I'm sitting here, and I think it's isolation that's inspiring me so much too, to go through this memory, recall and recollection of my experiences in the industry. And again, I'm probably forgetting so many of my closest friends, but just people who get it, and I know Trista, shout out to Sean Decker, shout out to my Horror Starlets Bowling for Boobies for Breast Cancer for many years. I was the co-captain with Sean Decker, and Sarah Nicklin. Oh, Sarah, she's another super talented young scream queen. And these are the young ones that are committing, like Trista and Sarah are committing to do quality work. And I'm going to say this again, authentically, I feel bad sometimes, again, Kinky Killers, $500,000 shot on 35mm film with big stars in it, Eye Murders, $1 million film, Sinatra Club that I produced for 7 years of my life and got to act in with Michael Nouri and Jason Gedrick and Danny Nucci from Titanic, and the list goes on and on. I only bring it up because $2 million indie film. And the younger generation and slightly younger, it just, the change happened. And Sinatra Club was 2009 we shot, and after 7 years, and it was shot on the Red cam. It was one of the very first films that was shot on Red. And so I bring it up because that was one of the first films I did. Oh no, Slime City Massacre. No, Sinatra Club was first. That it was the spring of 2009 we shot, that was shot on HD. So I had been the old school girl with the actual film, which was a dream come true. And I'm so blessed and grateful to have that experience. And I'm rambling, but making a point again that Trista and, the younger generations and Sarah Nicklin and all these other people who are sort of being forced to do HD, they don't get the film experience per se. They're being more forced to take the more micro budgeted films because that's what is being done in quantity now. And it's just a different world. Am I right, Trista?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've shot on film maybe once, and it was a short, and it was an interesting experience. But yeah, that's not the breadth of my work. But thank you for including me. I can, you know what I love about you, Brooke, is like, not only do I already love you and love to listen and learn from you, but like all the names you shout out are friends of mine. So I know that you have great taste in humans, and I think it's because you're a great human.
Thank you so much. I feel very blessed. And yes, we have, I think another thing I want to say from the heart, and I think about this a lot, and I'm not saturated in it as much as I used to be. And I think there's just various reasons for that. But the horror community, and I don't think that, I think the reason I guess I'm not saturated in as much now is that it doesn't fully I don't know, Trista, maybe you can enlighten me, but I don't know that it exists in the way it did even 10 years ago, like in my heyday, 15 years ago, when I won the B Movie Award for Scream Queen of the Year, Horror Actress of the Year at the B Movie Celebration for Slime City Massacre. And there were, and all my years at Shriekfest, and all my years going to Texas Frightmare Weekend. I love you, Parrish Randall, one of my other best horror friends, and a Texas guy we just got off the phone, like I was crying to him the other night. And like all those years of going to Texas Frightmare Weekend, all those years of going to Horror Hound, all those years of being on Tony, Todd, and I for Eye Murders on the cover of Scars magazine. I mean, now I'm going to go OG on you guys, right? Like cover of Scars magazine. That was a huge honor back then, in 2009. I was, for all the OGs that remember, 2010, I was the Gore Zone magazine in the UK was so hard copy magazines, you guys, they did exist. That's how old I am. But I was the Gore Zone, what was it? Gourmate. They had like the Playmates of horror. I was the Gourmate, August of 2010. I'll never forget it. And I was young and I was hot then. And so, and dressed scantily clad, but all of those, that was such a community. And I know we still have a community left, and I know it will always exist. But back then I was invited to walk the big main A-list red carpet. Not that I was A-list, but I'm saying like the A-list red carpet at the Spike TV Scream Awards. I did that 2009, 2010. And the Saturn Awards, I was there a couple, like 3 years in a row, again, like 2009 to 12 or whatever. I bring it up because it was such a community, and there was a group, I would say, and of course, various groups, we all know that, but it was an overall community. Now, just like everything else in indie film, you can live in Alaska and still star in indie films. You can live, Atlanta, Hollywood South, and half of us have migrated down there from LA, right? We know that. Trista's like, yeah. So I'm saying it because it's a different world now, and it's spread out so much, branched out so much of the, I have to say this for all the old school people watching, like shout out to, I love Dread Central now, but the old Dread Central and dear friends of mine, Uncle Creepy, Steve and Deb and Barton. And so like they produced with Dread Central, it was, I think 2010, the Reaper Awards. The Reaper Awards, you guys, were you there, Trista?
No, I wasn't. But Steve lost a ton of weight just like Neal did. But yeah, it's amazing actually.
Yes, amazing. He was super skinny.
And I was friends with Steve back on MySpace days when they started Dread Central.
Yes. Oh my God, they were at my wedding a year and a half ago. And Yeah. So they produced the Reaper Awards, and it was at, I hope some old school people are watching, because it was such an incredible memory for me. And I was invited because I was like relevant then. And I was invited to present an award. It was like the best like indie to DVD film or whatever of the year. And I'll never forget. And I remember like the list of people, and it was truly unbelievable. And it was at the Roosevelt, the haunted famous Roosevelt Hotel in LA, and up on Hollywood Boulevard, and in the ballroom. And it was truly like the Golden Globes. Like, I don't know what else to say. It was like the Golden Globes of horror, the Emmys of horror. It was the who's who of horror, the it people of horror. I mean, I remember one of the people on the list, and I don't know how I remember these things, but I just remember like calling out Adam Green's name and calling out like Joe Lynch's name and maybe Bowsman. Like, I don't, those people. And I was invited, I presented, I took one of my dearest friends in the world who I've been blessed to work with on a short film, Courtney Gaines, who you've had on your show, and I've seen him in your intro. And
yeah, Courtney,
he's another one of my soul people who I love so much, who moved down south. He's in that like Atlanta movie crew now. And so I took Courtney as my guest, and we went, and I just remember, and I'm just reminiscing, and thank you for letting me have this opportunity to do it, hopefully with the old school horror folks, because it was just a community. And now everyone is just everywhere and doing their own thing. And maybe it's an age getting older thing, but like, it's just different now. So I'm so grateful to have had those opportunities. I'm really blessed. I feel so blessed to have been in the horror community and been on the Horror Starlets team. And I mean, our girls with Sean Decker and I with the breast cancer for Busted Foundation that we did for 7 years. And Sean and I busted our asses. But I mean, we had the beautiful Serena Vincent and Ashlyn Yenny and women to this day who are still my dear friends, Natalie Victoria and Ariel Brackfeld. And I mean, Sarah Butler, and just mind-blowing. And Ann McDaniels, who is someone I just adore, one of the coolest, beautiful women on earth. And so again, I could shout out to a million people, I'm probably forgetting people, but I'm saying like just unbelievable opportunities of that community.
There's a lot of people just saying that they are enjoying the interview, and they love Courtney Gaines and love rock horror operas. And AJ says you should be an inspirational speaker.
Oh, that is so generous. Thank you so much. I am sometimes. I hope I am. You know, I'm a board certified life coach. Go figure. But that was, funny enough, segueing back to keeping it in the horror world. Ms. Vampy was a horror character I created, kind of like a sketch comedy. She's a comedic mobster Brooklyn vampire with a heart of gold. And you guys know—
Is that your real accent as Miss Vampy?
No, it's not. Well, I am Ms. Vampy. She's a Brooklyn vampire. She's like, stay and play and have a bloody good time, or bite me. I love her so much. And I hope that I get to make my vamp it out with the two girls, and I'm going in a different direction with her. But the point of the story was, so I authored a book for teens. I did a talk show for teens. And so I became a board certified life coach to have the credibility that I wanted for my, Ms. Vampy show and all of that stuff, with all the teen stuff I did with Ms. Vampy. So for any moms with teenage, tween and teen girls, look at my book. I'm not trying to sell it, but I'm saying there's great inspirational messages for teen girls in it. And it's Ms. Vampy's Teen Talk. There's a lot of power in your choices. It's on barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com. It's award winning. So I've been blessed to do that too. But again, you see, I kept it in horror, but tried to make it positive. So I hope to, always spread positivity.
Were you a horror movie fan before getting into making horror movies?
Crazy. As a child growing up in the 80s, first of all, I was vampire obsessed. It's like almost like a little sick and twisted in a sexy way though. Like I remember being like 5 years old and watching, I must have seen some kind of like scary thing on TV at Halloween. And I like wanted to be bitten by a vampire. I wanted Dracula to bite me. I know it's like a little too erotic, right? For what we're talking about now. I go from inspirational to erotic, but I'm sure my husband would like that. That being said, I loved the 80s. I mean, I really did. And like I said, my parents were divorced when I was 2. It was me and my mom in my house, and we struggled, and she would take me to movies and stuff. And then as I got older, I would go to visit my dad on the weekends, and he was like the cool dad who had, ready for this one, the VHS. So VCR, whatever that, right? Like VCR. So
I've got a bunch of them here in my book.
Yes. That's how old we are, right? And so I would, like, anytime I had the opportunity to go down to the corner, I'm a Philly, Jersey girl, right? So I would have the opportunity to walk down to like one of the stores at the shopping center. And I loved the video. I mean, really, true. This is the truth. Like, I was obsessed with the video stores, like the local shops. And I would just always, as a young girl, go right to the horror stuff. And when I was old enough and I was allowed to rent the famous horror films, I mean, I think it's funny because a lot of horror people are surprised at my knowledge of like horror movies, but I was obsessed with the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. To me, that's still one of the most brilliant and scary films around. I was obsessed with American Werewolf in London. Obsessed and in love with David Naughton. When I was a little girl, and I was like in love with David Naughton. You're laughing. I was in love with David Naughton. Let's see. What else did I love? And then, you know, the powerful, fun, which I think are some of the best movies around, the 80s, all of them. I mean, I'll be cliche when I say like the original Halloween. I did, you know, one of my favorite movies ever was the original Prom Night. I loved, still to this day, and that was my, you know, love for Jamie Lee Curtis. I loved the original Prom Night because it had heart and there was a story. And that's what I love. I love the brother-sister story in there and the pain of losing the other sister. I'm giving spoiler alerts, but I'm sure everybody's seen the original Prom Night. But I also loved, oh my gosh, I loved Happy Birthday to Me. And I loved the original April Fool's Day. And I got to shout out to someone who I don't even really consider a scream queen, but she is, because I just consider her more iconic, like mainstream, Kelly Maroney. Another soul sister, one of my dearest friends, who is just
multiple time guest too. Yeah.
Yes.
She's great.
She's amazing. And to me, again, I'm honoring her. Like, I don't just think of her as horror, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and a big soap opera star. And it's so funny because I look back and again, like some of my closest girlfriends, and I'm like, oh my God, I was obsessed with Night of the Comet, you know, Night of the Comet and Shopping Mall. And
remember, I love both movies, but Night of the Comet, I don't know why, but they would show it all the time on one of the pay channels, HBO or something, when I was a kid. That was a movie that just would show all the time, and I'd watch it many times.
And it's so crazy. Yes, and like it's so crazy because Trista, you probably feel this way. You know, again, when you get to that level where you get to do, like I was saying, and you know, I do less now because I'm not as relevant, but like when I used to do a lot. Shout out to Cool Waters Productions, Derek Mackey, who's my booking agent for appearances for 15 years. And when Derek would get me on the whole circuit and I would do the Crypticon Seattle's and like the big conventions, and like you're sitting there, and to this day, I'm still like starstruck. I'm still a fangirl. And like to this day, I just remember, I remember meeting Elvira for the first time. I remember meeting Adrienne Barbeau and having next to her. I remember meeting Eileen Dietz, who's I love to this day. She was at my wedding too. Like all these old school greats, and you're just like, and Don Coscarelli. I mean, I spent an entire Crypticon Seattle hanging with Don Coscarelli. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Phantasm, like, and it's like, these are my friends. Like, it's crazy. You know, like Kelly's my dear friend. Like, you know, Courtney Gaines is one of my best friends. Like Christine DeBelle, Meatballs. Are you kidding me? Like, we go back to like, and you just think you're like, wow, but there are people too. And, you know, we're all human and we're all messed up. We're all a hot mess in some way. And we all have ebbs and flows. And, you know, sometimes my friends who are veterans, older than I, and veterans in this industry and have had those famous titles, and yet they cry and complain and they're like, but I haven't had a title like that in 20 years, 30, you know, and I'm just like, shut up, because I wish I had that title ever, you know, but probably my Slime City Massacre is that, you know, whole memorable known title, thanks to Greg. And so, and of course, Slime City Apocalypse will really be like my, I hope he's listening still, but will really be my memorable title. But so, yeah, so it's just incredible. And thank you for going down memory lane, you guys, with me. This is really fun. No, I needed this. I've been so depressed. Real quick, I have to share. You guys won't know this, and I'm actually moving my hand. This is the happiest I've been. You don't know this. Right after our last show, our reunion show, I took a fall on my back patio. Body slammed. Sorry. Oh, no joke. Body slammed. This is how everybody, see when you think everything's so perfect with other people, I have been so effed up for the last month. Took a body slam on my back, neck, and spine. My husband had to rush me to the ER. They packed me in ice. They put me in a neck brace. I have to wear, I can laugh now, but it's not funny. I have to wear a spinal back, like vest brace, a neck brace, and I might have to have hand surgery. I took my brace off because I didn't want it to be in our video. I'm not doing it to feel sorry for myself or to have your pity. I'm just saying because we all go through crap, truly. I mean, we were chatting about it via Twitter earlier, DMing, Neal and I, like we're talking about exercise, weight gain. I put 10 pounds on. I have to admit, I ate more pizza and drank more wine than ever with my husband during pandemic and isolation. But B, I'm having some health issues. I'm having a major thyroid issue. Again, don't share. I'm saying, so I'm like, oh my God, for all you women out there. And of course, I'm a celebrity ambassador for Breaking the Chains Foundation for people, especially young women with body image and body and eating disorders. So I hate myself right now, but I'm feeling that, like all you women watching, you know, who get so down on yourself when you gain 5 pounds, 10 pounds, especially actresses. Like, we need to give ourselves a break. And guys too, man, Neal, look at you. Like, I know you have felt it, right? And you look amazing. Like, we all have shit going on. We all have issues. No one is perfect. We're perfectly imperfect just the way we are. It's in my book that I wrote, Coaching from a Professed Hot Mess. So if I can create any joy and positivity for you guys and for me today, then I'm so happy. And you guys have done that for me. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for coming on. And
Oh yeah,
I'm happy that, I think we're all happy that people can, we have fun, and it's good to people that are watching have fun. And it's great that just as long as after this one, you don't get body slammed again or fall down.
yeah.
I think
Just
I've taken the
don't
fall
make it
of
a
the year.
trend now.
Right.
I swear, I told my husband, I'm like, I'm falling apart, literally. I'm like, well, thank God I'm still sort of isolated with my health and in pandemic, because I mean, I can't get on a film set right now anyway. So, but that's okay, because I'm so damn busy working in my office at home, like 12, 15 hours a day on post-production. Again, I was so blessed in the fall to have a lot of projects. And if I can, I want to shout out real quickly to another project that is I call it, it's a drama to me, but it's a drama. And to me, it's a romance film that women will love, men will love, but it has a big twist of sci-fi. And it's a film that I co-produced as well, got to play a supporting role, and it's titled The Morning. And so everybody check out The Morning it should be on Amazon Prime now. It just released on Tubi TV. We love Tubi TV because everything's on Tubi TV now, but you check it out, The Morning. And I'm so proud of it. It was a piece that went to SAG-AFTRA Conversations a few years ago, and we re-released it. And I love my role, but beyond that, I mean, to work with incredible people. Mark Klebanoff directed it, who also directed the Stripped pilot that I got to star in with Casper Van Dien in the fall. And I was one of the producers on that. So we are working on distribution for it right now. A lot of good stuff going on, but also outside of horror. But The Morning, to all the sci-fi fans watching, definitely check it out. And Louis Mandylor, Dominique Swain, Michael Walton is a star. He wrote it for himself as a piece. He's brilliant. And Peter Dobson, and I know I'm forgetting people, but just an amazing cast, a beautiful piece that looks like film, that looks like a $2 million film, and it's incredible. So check out The Morning, everyone. I have to shout out to that. Red Rooms, I will bring you more when I have it. We already talked about Stacey Lane Wilson's The Second Age of Aquarius. That is so good, and we are working diligently on post, and I'm so lucky to be a part of that. And there's some goodies coming up with that film too, some great merchandising products we're working on. And I know I'm going to be forgetting stuff, but everybody wait for it. I'll have to come back and talk about this one, but Thomas Churchill is releasing The Day of the Dead that I got to act in. So that I'm super excited about too. It's finally getting a proper release. Horror, keep your eyes open for that. And I will know more soon. I'm like and anyway, I feel very lucky right now, even in pain, even in, braces, to have the opportunities that I've had and that I'm having during a really awful time in this world. And I know you guys are in the same boat. And Trista, I'm so proud of you. You just got back from doing a movie, and just keep doing what you do and keep being you.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that you're okay.
Thank you. I'm good. I'm always good. It too shall pass. It too shall pass. But I feel so good right now. And I just want to thank you guys and everybody who's watching and sending in messages, like, not for my sympathy, but just to share that I'm so effed up too. I am truly a hot mess. My friends laugh. They're like, if anything can happen, it's going to happen to Brooke. Like, I'm cursed. But we take lemons and make lemonade, right? And so we have to really keep doing that, especially at these challenging times.
I agree. And when you said about, the horror community and you're saying about everyone, is still a person, when I started going to the conventions, you could really see that, because the actors, they treat it all, they, like yourself, most of the actors don't like to call people fans. They call them friends, and everyone was, they all shared like a love of the genre. And everyone was just, it was just a community, an actual community. Like, it's hard to think of the conventions now without Sid Haig, but he was a huge part of the conventions when I would go, and he treated everyone, just like a person. And
Yep.
that's what I really liked about the conventions.
Yep. Yeah. It was like one big fraternity, and again, they exist. I get invited a lot less now, but also the money is very different than when we used to get nice paying, guarantees. The whole industry is different now. And again, and I say this always humbly, like they don't need me when contractually the cast of The Walking Dead has to go to the conventions now. It's like Comic-Con. So, and I'm okay, again, I share that because I made peace with that. Like, and maybe one day I'll be on a TV series that is comparable to that, and I will get that invitation again. But right now, that doesn't exist for me, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm at peace with where I am. I'm so blessed. I'm around wonderful people, and I want to choose again as we go into a really tough time in the world. When I leave pandemic and whatever, I get to choose. We get to choose, you guys. You get to choose. There's power in choice. Choose who you want to be around. Choose who you want to work with. Choose people who make us feel good. There's too much sadness and shit in the world right now. Choose good.
A lot of friends, actors who were at the conventions, and when the Walking Dead was at its height, and I think people would think they say this in a bitter way, like they didn't like the Walking Dead actors being guests. But if you talk to them, they explain it, because a lot of the fans of The Walking Dead weren't necessarily horror movie fans. They were fans of The Walking Dead. So they would come and they would go to The Walking Dead people, but they wouldn't care about, someone from Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Friday the 13th. And it would also hurt the vendors, because they wouldn't go and buy merchandise with, obscure horror movie stuff on. So it looks like there's a lot of people there, but it was really just to go see just a small percentage of the actual people at the convention, and it would hurt the other people and hurt the vendors, which is a big part of the convention.
100%. And like everything else, and this is where I have to catch myself, and we were having this whole conversation before the show, like off air, I had to catch myself because like I have to speak my truth. And like it's like everything else. It's like when Comic-Con first started, and it was like a genre thing, years ago. And then it became corporate. Listen, I went to Sundance with a film, you guys, with a group in, oh my gosh, I was right out of college. I mean, it was like 1998 maybe. And then I didn't return again until 2004. And then I just went in 2004 just to go party. But we were there with a film that was not in Sundance, but it was in screening there or whatever. And like the difference in that time frame from 1998 to 2004, and that's really not that many years. I can't even tell. We all know like Sundance became corporate. It became Hollywood, just like Comic-Con did, just like a lot of the conventions have. And it's, they have to make money. Everybody needs to make money, and I have to support that. But it's just different, it's just different.
Jennifer Kirschmeyer, she says she loves you and hope that you feel better.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. That's so sweet. I'm so touched. Again, I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm not one of those people. That is something I really have integrity around. No sympathy for me. I'm really in gratitude. Thank you, Jennifer, so much. Thank you all for just being here with me. That's what I'm grateful for. This is like fun for all of us. That's what I was tweeting earlier. Like we're all in such, I don't know. Like I have friends, a lot of my business associates are really depressed right now. And having a really hard time and trying to figure out how are they going to survive, especially in Hollywood, you guys, rents are $6,000 a month for a 1-bedroom at this point. And so it just to have joy, and hopefully we're bringing you guys joy. That's the most important thing. I will be fine. Don't you worry. I have more movies to make.
And it's a weird question, so hopefully there's a story here. If not, I don't know why I asked this, but Greg wanted to know if you have any weird allergies.
He's busting my balls again, Greg.
Right.
So So again, you can tell when you become friends with the people you work with, and of course they have to embarrass you. But yes, I was there. So I am the girl in the bubble, as you already know, and have a lot of health issues, and always have. And I have severe allergies, and it's so sad. And I know you guys are going to hate me because I'm such a dog lover. I really am. But all you animal activists, I love animals. Please don't think I don't. I'm deathly allergic, so I cannot be around them. And trust me, I've lost out on many of acting opportunities because of it. I've had to walk away from films because they were filming in a horse stable or a dog kennel. That being said, why Greg's bringing it up. So back to Killer Rack. And I'm telling you, I'm cursed again when it comes to Greg Lamberson movies, but in a fun way, because we always have these crazy freaking stories. So we shared the Slime City Massacre story. You guys want to hear the Slime City Massacre story? Go back and watch our Slime City Massacre. Check out that video and you'll get the whole scoop about the fire in my hotel. Yes, that's all I'm saying. Cut to Killer Rack, our next film we did together, and I'm voicing the Killer Rack. Yes, I did. So I'm voicing the boobs. I wonder why. And so we're like debating, you know, and I'm also like working a little bit on producing this film as well with Greg. And so we're working on, do I fly out to Buffalo? And at this point you're making, you know, a low budget film. Do you spend the money flying me out to Buffalo, taking a million flights to get there and, you know, the expense? Or do we keep me in LA? I'm just doing the voice at this point. Do we go to the recording studio here? So the answer is we go to the recording studio in Hollywood. So Greg is working out a bunch of deals and stuff, and we're talking, and he calls a dear friend of his, John, who I know we know, it's so crazy, like how small the industry really is. So I know John through the horror writing and everything. And so John lives with Fawn, who is a dear friend of mine, who I actually had lost touch with. It's so insane, who I met at a Women in Film event years prior and sat with her and became friends. We then lost touch for a couple of years. Greg's like, okay, here's the address. You're going to a recording studio. This woman is going to produce the voiceover for you. And we're talking like a nice chunk of voiceover. So we're talking like not just an in and out situation. We're talking like a full day and night. We did like afternoon into evening, big time chunk of laying down the voiceover for the character. So I go to the recording studio, and it's in the basement of their ginormous, beautiful house they have up here in the Hollywood Burbank Hills. So I love you, Fawn. We are serious. In fact, I just acted in her music video for Black Lives Matter called Wait for the Sun. So we'll shout out to that later, but back to the story. So Fawn is an animal activist, and I love Fawn, but she's like fanatical when it comes to like saving the animals. She has, and forgive me if I'm quoting like the wrong number, but something up of probably over 14 pets. Now here's the girl in the bubble who's deathly allergic to animals, but I clear it first. I'm like, okay guys, the recording studio is separate of the 14 animals that are in the house and outside the house, right? And they're like, yes, it's a full-blown professional recording studio. So I go, okay, cool. We go to the house. I go down the stairs. She's like, would you like to come in and have a drink? I'm like, no, gotta go right into the recording studio. Go down. So I'm in the recording studio. So now it's about 2 hours in. So when I get there, we set up, I got the headsets on, the mic, like we start to lay down the voice, and I'm like sniffling. And I'm like, are you sure there's no animals that come down into the recording studio? She's like, oh no, the animals never come down into the recording studio. I'm like, okay, that's weird. I'm getting scratchy throat. Now you guys, you hear what I'm saying to all the viewers. This is a voiceover job. I'm doing like changing up my voice and doing hopefully good acting work while I'm doing the voice of the Killer Rack the boobs. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my voice. I can't breathe. So long story long, we're about an hour in, my throat starts to close up. I'm like, I need to get air. I need to go outside and get air. So I go out and get air. I powered through, but about 3 hours in, I totally had an asthma attack. I'm coughing up a lung. So, and this is the irony of the whole thing. So Fawn, who's just wonderful and truly a dear friend of mine, she's like, okay, you know what? Let me put the air conditioning on. Let me put the air really high. Maybe it'll help you. I'm like, yes, you have air. Put the air on. It's going to help me. Unbeknownst to me, where do the animals sit? Right up above. Here's the air conditioner vent right above my head. The cold air is blowing in my face for hours. Unbeknownst to me, all the animals, cats, dogs, birds, everything, goats, I mean, you name it, she has it. The most highly allergic animals are right Here's the other side of the vent, resting right by the vent. So by 3 hours in, I'm dying, I'm choking. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to call Greg. I have to go outside like every hour. They're giving me inhalers. I'm outside getting fresh air every chance I get. I made it through, you guys. I'm a trooper. I'm no sissy. Powered through, but I almost died voicing Killer Rack. You can laugh. It's funny now.
Well,
What
I'm
a way
glad
to go.
It's the story of I'm telling you, that's why I wrote a book. I'm a hot mess. I own it.
Right.
See, I almost
Naito
talked
says
twice.
hello.
Who does?
Naito.
Oh, how cute. I told you I love dogs. Wait, really, I just thought of this. So that's not once, but twice. I almost died on a Greg Lamberson production.
It's a ring endorsement here for Greg, but almost though, almost. It's not. You're fine now. Yeah.
The things we do for the things we love.
Right. So you mentioned earlier Sinatra Club. I was interested in that because I'm a Mafia fan, a Mafia movie fan. Maybe not necessarily a fan of the Mafia, but
I'm a fan of the Mafia. The real one in Philly and Jersey and New York. So I think we mentioned that before one time when we were chatting or something. And, that's a film I'm incredibly proud of. And it is a Mafia movie. It is a mobster movie for all the Mafia fans. It's a $2 million mobster picture. I actually found the script. I met someone who was pitching the script at a Halloween party in 2004. I fell so in love with it. I was the champion for the script. I helped to bring it down to LA, package it, and we actually shot this film in 2009 at a studio in LA. It got distributed originally by Warner Brothers, and then Gravitas did the streaming and the DVDs. Originally, it was a Warner Brothers picture. We had a limited theatrical that things kind of messed up a bit, which I want to be respectful. But so do the math. 2004 to 2011, 7 years of my life. I was one of 5 main producers, and really that I probably, from making the most mistakes, including giving my power away as a woman at times, but I believed in the project so much that I chose to stick it out. But making the most mistakes, I learned the most. I learned the most about myself. I learned the most about myself as a producer, most about myself as a woman, most about myself as an actress, and made a very conscious choice when that film ended. And I'm so proud of it. Please know that. And I got to work again. I shouted out earlier, but to work opposite people like Danny Nucci from Titanic and Jason Gedrick from Iron Eagle and Michael Nouri from Flashdance and Ellen Hallman from Spartacus, who we plucked out. I mean, think about this. This is 2004. We shot it 2009, so we cast 2008, who became a megastar, Spartacus and all these great films. And so just a great opportunity. And I learned so much from it. And I'm so proud of it. And that's a film that I actually also took a supporting role in because I believed in it. It was the right role for me. So that shows that, as an actress, you resonate to the roles that are right for you. It doesn't always have to be a lead. You go with the role that is in your niche, that is inspiring to you, that speaks to you, that makes sense for you. And Rosella, the brunette, we were like the comedic relief in a dramatic biopic. I mean, this is a real story based on a script that Sally Botts Polisi wrote. That was the night John Gotti became John Gotti. Truth, real truth. And he went to the witness protection program and came out, and we made the film. And so you may have read this in some of my interviews. This is something I just love to share. So it was very sexy, very mysterious, in pre-production for many years with this piece. And we would literally have meetings at 10, 11, 12 o'clock midnight at the Sportsman's Lodge, the famous Sportsman's Lodge where all the old rockers used to party in Studio City. And we would have our production meetings in a back hotel suite, 20 of us, 10 of us, whatever it would be, and for years. And it was amazing. And a project that was one of the hardest, a $2 million piece. I mean, based on a true story, one of the most difficult projects I've ever been involved in producing, but one of the greatest in so many ways. And so I took the supporting role that was right for me and played the comedic mobster, hooker Gumata. I loved it. But really it was the challenge of producing, and it was a hard road, but an amazing road. But it taught me to value myself and what I'd be willing to do in the future and what I wouldn't, and when to take a project and know when to exit, and to know your worth, and to know that for me, I have to be paid properly when I do a project now. I have to be paid. And I was actually paid very well as an actress and okay as a producer. And again, we chose to, where to allocate the funding and financing because we needed it with such a huge project and a huge cast and everything. But that being said, now, like, that's probably segueing around to today, I have to just share probably one of my biggest conundrums or questions or conflicts. And again, Trista, I don't know if you have this, for me, no, it's not about the money. And I've actually, because I've wondered at times, and maybe people think I'm a horrible actress, and that's okay. I already know because I have haters and people who have written horrible blogs about me. And then I also know I have a lot of fans and people who say that I'm a brilliant actress, and it doesn't matter. It's all subjective. But, sometimes I go, we all question, and I go, well, how come, my friends producing this film or directing this film and they didn't invite me to be in it? Like, was there nothing for me? I don't need to play a lead. And I question, like, why? And Trista's shaking her head. So I'm curious to see what you have to say about this on your end. And like, I go, well, why not me? Like, why wasn't I asked to be in that? I'm perfect for that role. And then later come to find out, like, sometimes I'll ask, or sometimes someone will tell me, well, they were interested in you, but they said, oh, we can't afford Brooke. And so as flattering as that is, yes, I'm affordable. I'm more affordable than you think, but will I work for free? No. And from this point on too, when pandemic exits, like I've thought about so much about what I want and the type of projects I want to be involved with and make. And like, we have to know our value. We have to be paid for the work that we do. And there's always negotiating, always. But to me, and this is actually something, shout out to Jessica Cameron, who I love, like we were having coffee a couple of years ago, and she's such a maniac. And I say that in such a positive way. Like, I have so much admiration for her because I wish she's so smart and knows the industry and knows everyone and like speaks her mind, man, like nobody's business. And I admire that. But she taught me a couple of years back, we were having coffee one day and she said something about hobbyists. And she taught me, I never heard that word at that time. It had just come out, I think. And she taught me about hobbyists. And she's like, yeah, well, they're hobbyists. Like, Brooke, you hold a standard. Like, you get paid as an actress. I always have. I don't know this world. And yes, when I'm producing something that's my project, Philly Chick Pictures, and I have financed it, so am I gonna not pay myself? Usually I'll pay myself if it's union, of course, I'll pay through SAG, but like, am I always gonna pay myself a chunk? No, it is what it is if it's mine. But other people's, like, we have to get paid for our work. And again, it may be low, but you have to respect yourself. And again, segueing back to Sinatra Club, I'm forever blessed and grateful. And it is such a quality film. And I think you should definitely watch it, anyone who loves mobster movies. But also, it taught me to know my worth.
Is that because you talked about being in liking horror movies? What other kind of movies did you like before you became an actor?
So I loved musicals. I still do. I loved, anything. Grease. I mean, I think I had the Grease VHS.
People might not know this about me, but I like musicals as well. So.
Really? Oh my God. Like Grease. And did you see Grease 2 ever?
I'm not a big fan of Grease, but I do like Grease. Grease is the word that you heard.
I mean, right? Like, that was like musicals, just positivity, and I loved Grease 2, I have to say. And let's talk about Michelle Pfeiffer. And let's talk about Maxwell Caulfield, who shares with the same talent manager here in LA. Like, again, you look at these incredible mainstream movie stars, right? And like, look what they did back in the day. Everyone has their thing. How about Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger in what version of like one of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Part 4, I believe. It's is it the Return or
right?
It's part 4, but it's not called Part 4. It's the Return or something. Yeah.
I think you'd be surprised. So again, for me, and I don't want to repeat myself and waste your time, but the mysteries. I mean, I loved Agatha Christie, everything Agatha Christie. I'm obsessed with Elizabeth Taylor. So even movies like The Mirror Cracked, and I know it's like crazy. I rented it recently. Like, I love that. Brian De Palma to me is a god, you know, so is Hitchcock. But I mean, I love the Hitchcockian films, like, you know, North by Northwest. We're not just talking Vertigo and horror stuff, like North by, I love that. I mean, I would die, like, I would kill, if you put me on a TV series that was that kind of Hitchcockian, even the Twilight Zone, you know, or like, I would be the happiest woman in the world. Like, I love that shit. Yeah.
By the way, AJ Zyler corrected me. It's The Next Generation is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Renee Zellweger. And
see?
I should have known that, but yeah.
Trista, see what happened? See where they went from there? Yep.
I wanted to say that Jessica Cameron's a great friend of mine as well. And what's really aspirational about her, and for me as an artist, you know, it was hard to, like, because when you love the work and you do it for the right reasons, you would do it for free, right? But eventually, like, I have to make a living. I have to be a human. My bills don't pay themselves, right? So, like, yeah, you need to, I have like a handful of people that I love that I'll work for like a favor rate because I love them and I believe in them. And that's more of a long run thing. Like, I want to collaborate with them down the line, but like, they're not trying to insult me or take advantage of that either. But yeah, like, if you're doing something for a living, you deserve to get paid for it. But and I don't work for free either. But Jessica Cameron specifically impresses me on a consistent basis because she's very savvy, very smart, very outspoken. But similar to you, she you know, I guess you could say she's jaded. Like, she does not suffer fools, but she has the kindest heart and is like genuinely a good human. Talk about saving animals. Like, how many, she also, similar to Linnea Quigley, like, she has like 20 pets because she takes every animal that she finds because of her huge heart. So I find myself drawn to women like her, like you, who are empowered, passionate, smart, but haven't lost that resolve for what really matters. And being a good human is the most important.
Thank you. Thank you. Wait, that's somebody said, speaking of real quick with allergies, so Jessica and I were having coffee at Starbucks, probably literally, I'm going to say right around her birthday, like literally before the pandemic, I'm going to say right before it. And she, because she loves animals so much, every time, so we were sitting at like a corner table not too far from the register. So that's where a million people are lining up. We're in Hollywood, right? So every time people would come in with their dogs, with their cats, whatever, holding them, she would go and pet them. And then she would hug me. And then we hugged at the end.
No.
Oh, yes. And I'm like breaking out in hives all over. I'm like, yes, I kill you. But it is, she's such an animal lover that like she'll reach and play with all the, it's so funny. It made me think of it. But that's how bad my allergies are. But yes, she taught me, I love learning from my younger friends. Like, she taught me about the hobbyist deal. And she taught me, I love this other term, hate watching. She taught me hate watching.
Oh, I don't know this.
So she was like, she was talking about someone that she didn't respect in the industry. And I said, oh, but did you watch their film? It was really good.
Did she hate watch it?
She goes, no, I don't hate watch. And I died. Like, I'm like, I need my younger friends to teach me all the terms like this. Like, I died. And I'm like, oh my God, that's brilliant. Hate watch. Like, when you watch someone who you don't like and respect and you watch their work, right? You're all laughing now. And it's called hate watching. Yes, I hate just, I don't waste my time or energy. I don't hate watch. I'm like, you're brilliant. Yes,
we've had Jessica on the show a lot of times. So I went to the website to look up when, and I'm going to mention some because it's kind of a weird coincidence. But so we had her on originally in 2010, and she's been on a bunch of times. And she set up a lot of guests too to help promote, you know, other independent movies, which was cool. And over the years, I was really impressed too. And I don't know her as well as you two, but I know her, you know, fairly well online. And I met her a few times when I was in LA. And but I was impressed that she's really grown since we had her on the show and got her name really good at promotion, getting her name out there. But was so when I looked it up in 2010, I have the notes of what we talked about, and she talked about the Golden Cobb Award for Best Rising B Movie Actress, and it was 2010, so it would have been the same year that you won the Golden Cobb for Scream Queen. I thought it was pretty interesting.
That is the first time. So we had sort of been like little sort of fans, and she's younger, so she had been coming up just after me, and like so we used to follow each other on Twitter, whatever, and we met for the first time at the B Movie Awards in 2010. She was nominated, like you said, Best Rising New Scream Queen or New Star, and I was nominated for Best Horror Actress Scream Queen. And we finally met in person for the first time. And I actually introduced her to a few horror filmmakers who lived down in that area at the time. I'll never forget. And I was like, oh, she's a handful, this girl. She's gorgeous, like fun, bubbly. I'm like, she's a handful. And it was funny because at one point in time, and she is so outspoken and so speaks her mind and truth. And I was like, oh my God, I'm scared. Like, I don't know how to handle that, and we were not, there was like a chunk of time where we were not friends. Like I was like, oh, I don't know about her, because I didn't know her well. And I didn't know, and this isn't the Jessica Cameron show, but Jess, we love you. And then couple years later, we reconnected and she reached out to me for something and like we reconnected and I'm like, you know what, Jess, I owe you an apology. Like I shouldn't have listened to blah, 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 shit talk from other people about you or an experience you had with them, whatever. And we just bonded and became the closest of friends. She's another one that's like a soul sister and like holds a special place in my heart. And I have nothing but love and admiration for her. And I would like to be more like her because, and Trista will attest to this, she just speaks her mind. And I love that. She will tell you like it is. And I think we all need friends like that. It's very important.
But there's a lot of goodness being spewed too. Like, along with speaking her mind, like that's where the big heart is as well. Like she's effusive with love the same way she is with more critical honesty, I would say.
100%. I mean, truly, I agree with you. And if it came out differently, that's not how like she schools me on a lot of around the industry, like, because there's so much appearance and reality, and she will set me straight and tell me like what the real situation is going on over here. Right. And you are correct. She does it with positivity. But I will say, and this is where you're 100% right, what I love about her is she's so supportive of other women. So supportive. She never tries to like knock me down. She always builds me up. She always is the first one to leave positive comments on social media and stuff. And like, yeah, no, she's real deal. She's real deal.
You talked about a lot about stuff that you're working on, but a lot of people are asking in the chat if there's anything that you haven't mentioned that you're working on currently.
Great questions. A lot of right now I will say this, I've had a lot of meetings for forward-thinking projects when pandemic is over. I'm still being very careful, and that's just because I have like a compromised immune system, but and out of respect and integrity. And I hate to be a hypocrite about certain things. So there's stuff like I'm trying to refocus and revamp, pun intended, my Vamp It Out script, which is the TV pilot now with a full TV Bible and a full script for teen girls, but positive messages, very current. So shout out to Kevin Michael Smith, not the Kevin Smith from Clerks, Kevin Michael Smith, who, in fact, we have been working during pandemic to sort of revamp the script and the pilot with that. So we submitted to some really big screenwriting competitions, and which is not my thing. I don't fancy myself a writer. I don't have the patience for it. I respect writers so much, but this is my passion project, and I did write it many, many years ago, and we've revamped it from a screenplay to a TV pilot to all this stuff. So I am still trying to bring Vamp It Out back. Spoiler alert, I am and have been sort of in redevelopment for that. Ironically, this is how life works. I mentioned The Cure with Mark Weiser in New York when I was 22 right out of college, and I then optioned the script, and it's titled In My Blood, and it's like I said, a vampire rock opera, and the female lead is one of my obsession characters that I would die to play. And so I am sort of revamping that a bit because I'd like to do these two things, vamp it out and In My Blood before I'm too old to play the roles that were written for me, that I would like to play. So they're both in the works. Probably no, I shouted out to The Morning that just came out on Tubi. I shouted out to Red Rooms that we're in post-production. I shouted out to The Second Age of Aquarius. We're in post-production. We're in a lot of post-production, which is great. So I'm very grateful that I had all those opportunities in the fall. Stripped again, I shouted out briefly too. So fingers crossed, everybody root for us for Stripped again. The star is Casper Van Dien, who we all know and love. He's amazing. We've got, again, Louis Mandylor, Jessica Morris, Dat Fan, Suze Lanier's in that one too. Larry Hankin from Home Alone and Everything, and now the new Breaking Bad movie. And I know Frank Krueger and, Jenny Wenger, Casper's beautiful wife, who I've just come to love, and she's amazing. And so I'm sure I'm leaving out people, but I apologize. I can't name everyone right now. But so Stripped is in post-production, and we have a lot of, it's a TV series. So we have a lot of interest. So we are in pitch meetings diligently for distribution for that, so fingers crossed. So I'm saying everything I think I'm allowed to say. And a couple of projects that we've taken the chance and submitted courageously to, like Sundance, Slam Dance, and who the hell ever knows, that 2% chance you get into some of the top tier festivals, but I don't know what the future is going to bring. And I'm open to, not right now, because I don't want to be on set with 50 coughing people, but no offense, and I don't judge anyone else, but for me, I can't, but I would love to receive scripts if there are roles for me. And I'm starting to get to that point where, I want to be able to play the 40-year-old strong, badass, intelligent woman. And I'm craving those mature vixen, roles to sink my fangs into. So any filmmakers that may be watching this, please consider me, because my rates are not that high. But yes, I need to be paid, and no, I will not work for free. Thank you.
Where would they contact you?
Oh, one other quick shout out, if I may. One other quick shout out, and it's a shout out not for this reason. I'm not trying to promote my clothing line, but I was very blessed to be branded with a clothing line almost 4.5 years ago, Metal Babe Mayhem. And everybody can check out Metal Babe. You can go to brookelewis.com. I'm Brooke Lewis Bellas now, but brookelewis.com is my main website, press site. And Metal Babe Mayhem is, all the links are there. We have a lot of the Rock Your Hot Mess shirts and stuff, but I bring it up because it's Allison Metal Babe Cohen's birthday today, and she is one of my incredible girl power partners who truly supports me through everything, and I am incredibly grateful and indebted to her. So I love you, Metal Babe. So happy birthday, Allison Metal Babe Cohen, and check out Metal Babe Mayhem. I had to say that. You can go to brookelewis.com, you can go to phillychickpictures.com, you can go to msvampy.net, and on social media, Brooke Lewis LA is my fan page on Facebook, which I finally got back after I was hacked.
Yeah, I noticed. I was wondering if it was the one that was hacked originally and you got it back, or if you had to make a new one.
Well, again, I know we talked about that last time, and I don't need to break the subject, but they were able to bring the link back in a different way, remove it. My entire account, every piece of content of 10 years, every photo I ever took at every horror convention, with every celebrity, with every friend, on every film set, Trista, feel my pain here, gone. Every comment, everything, they emptied it. Thank you, Katz PR, my amazing publicist. They were able to reach out to the Facebook PR, so they were able to put a link back. They stole my freaking verification. That's what they wanted, because overseas now, they can make money with it. So they were pros. They stole the entire link. But we have a link back. I had to rebuild it. I spent the entire time I was in traction 2 weeks ago for a week. I was bedridden with neck brace, right? When I fell. So I've rebuilt and added content, which I'll be adding this beautiful interview there. And so everybody follow at Brooke Lewis LA on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Yeah. I know it sucks. Be careful, please, everybody. Do not click on links. If you get sent links, DM links, I know so many people, especially people who are verified and celebrities and public figures, do not click on any links because they are fraud and they will steal your information, and it sucks.
Yeah, I know I mentioned this the last show, but I mean, I myself, that's where I my Facebook is where I keep a lot of photos. Like if I was when I was in England, and you don't think about it, you think, well, it'll be there forever. But if something would happen, you'd lose all these photos. You should, I guess, also back things up. But again, you don't really think about it, I think, when you're posting.
Back it up, Neal. I'm telling you, save it to go on when you have time and just put them in a folder on your Dropbox or whatever you use. Back it up, because I lost a lot of memories, and thank God I had a lot saved, because I'm an anal Nelly and I save I have like a gazillion folders in my Dropbox, but I lost some stuff. And more importantly, my fan comments, like, it broke my heart.
Yeah.
Beautiful comments that I'll never have again.
Yeah, and for them too, they could go and look back at stuff that they commented on. Yeah, that's this stuff you can't replace.
Yep.
It's too bad.
Welcome to
but
the new
I'm
world.
glad it's back in some way anyway.
Thank you. I have a page back.
Yeah. And I want to ask real quick too, is because you've mentioned Tubi a couple times, and doing a series with the rise of all the different platforms. Has that helped? As a producer, because there's so many different places you could something can go now.
We'll be here 2 more hours if I answer that in detail and honestly. So 50-50, and I'm going to answer it honestly because I will. Let me go on a negative. Let me go on a positive. On a positive note, sure, it's helped, because whenever 10, 15 years ago, whatever, could you create content, and if Lionsgate didn't want it, you had an opportunity to go to Amazon Prime or to go to Netflix in that capacity and have your show on a streaming TV platform. So the opportunity now is incredible. That being said, there is so much content. There are so many young filmmakers who are willing to give their content up for free or for no minimum guarantees. And again, I'm going to sound old school, but I know Greg's shaking his head right now. No minimum guarantees, no advances. I mean, I was from the era of you got an advance when you sold your film to the distributor. Now it's a whole new world. And yes, they offer them sometimes, but it's a challenge. So it is harder than ever for the filmmaker to make their money back right now. It is harder than ever. So that is where having gazillion platforms. I will also say this, and I don't mean to sound negative, but we're going to talk about the jaded part of me again, and Trista will attest to this. Like, there is also, when you think of yourself as an actor, and I don't need to be negative, but it's part of my upset now, and I sit and listen to like the SAG-AFTRA videos all the time, and they encourage the TikTok people that are watching. But let me just say this, that what I am saying is there's no distinction anymore. I don't know now how an actor could come who isn't, related opportunities for your work to be seen. And if you're a filmmaker and you're just looking for the eyeballs, then the answer is yes, it is beneficial in every way.
Usually when I ask that, it really depends on someone's experience in the business, their answer. If they've, for people just in the business now, just coming into it, it's a positive because they don't have, they have a chance to be seen, and people have been around longer, have some negatives to it. But I'm going to pick out the winner of the DVD here. Let's see here. And there was a lot of them. Thank you for putting this out there. Let's see.
Yay!
And as you can see, I picked this up. I'm very happy because has some bad things going on, but AJ Zyla. Maybe you can't see it.
Oh,
AJ
nice.
Zyla is one. And there's like 8 names in here.
Well,
really
I don't
awesome.
know what's going on in
That's
some of my
great.
business, but we're sending you lots of love and positive energy. And you're a winner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you
very
want to
good.
take
I'm very
one
happy
more,
about
and
that.
Neal, do you want to pick one more and I'll send an autograph picture, like one of me and Tony Todd?
Sure, if you're up, that's great.
Whatever they want, and we'll communicate. You guys will communicate with Neal, and he'll let me know who to sign to, and address to, and all that good stuff.
Okay. The second one is Linky Major at Linky Major. So that's a Twitter one.
Woohoo!
Congratulations, Linky.
Thank you.
Linky
Thank you
Major.
for watching.
Very good.
Yes.
Yay.
Well, thank you. Thank you for doing that, Brooke. That's very nice of you.
Oh, my honor.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
that's
so happy. Again, if I can help create any positivity anytime, but especially during this pandemic mess, I'm happy to.
Yeah. That's a big part of us doing the video show was for us personally. And, I think it's helped people and makes all of us feel good if someone, even if it's just a couple hours when they're watching the show, gets people's minds off something and
yes,
gives them a good time.
Yep.
Yes. I'm so grateful.
Yes. So I have to, I should have had this ready, but I want to thank you for being on. Well, all of us will thank you for being on.
Thank you.
It's been great.
Thank you guys.
And we'll definitely do it again.
Thank you. I would be honored to come back again. Thank you guys. Truly, truly, from the bottom of my horror heart, honestly, this has been so positive for me. And again, I hope it's been positive for the viewers, that everybody did, like you said, Neal, got some break from the craziness and some joy, and that we had a little bit of Halloween, entering Halloween. I'm like, we're heading into Halloween. This is like the start, right? Halloween season. We'll make it fun.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it's a last live show before October starts. So
Yep.
It's a weird year for Halloween, but I know there's a lot of we mentioned that there's so many people I see like, oh, Halloween's canceled. There's lots of things you can do for Halloween besides going door to door to people's houses, which honestly doesn't seem like the best thing to be doing during the pandemic, going house to house, across your neighborhood. But that doesn't mean it's canceled and you can't do other things. There's plenty of things you can do.
There's tons of virtual Halloween parties.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I've noticed people that I've never seen mention Halloween. All of a sudden they're like huge supporters of trick or treating, and they're like, we can't lose trick or treating. I'm like, I've never seen you ever talk about Halloween in my life. But
it's the
could be some good virtual film festivals.
That's right.
Oh.
That's October 24th. Severed Limbs, the Without Your Head, number 3, our virtual film festival. So short films. So still time to submit your horror shorts.
Fun. Submit, everyone.
It is very fun. Yes.
Yeah, it's something I always look forward to.
Yeah, Debra Lamb won Best Actress at the first one we did.
She did?
She did,
She's
yeah.
good. She's good.
She's very good. So I'm trying to get this ready here. We're going to leave with a note here from Suze, a video note. I'm trying to get ready, so I'm just killing time here mumbling, but I think it's ready. So we're going to go to it. And again, thank you, Brooke, for doing this.
Thank you,
guys.
Brooke.
Love you.
Yeah, thank you so
Love
much.
you guys all soon. Mwah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Good. Now I think we're ready. All right, here we go. Of course, it's a different size than my other videos.
Oh.
She's so beautiful.
Isn't she inside and out?
Oh, yeah.
Very well put.
Do you know she sang at my wedding?
Really?
Oh.
She sang at my wedding. She's my girl.
Ah.
The original Brenda from West Craven.
Restart this. All
Hi.
right.
Suze Lanier-Bramlett here. The original Brenda from West Craven's, the original Hills Have Eyes. Yeah, but right now I want to talk about voting. This is a picture of my dad. Now, he was neither a loser or a sucker, as Trump has referred to our servicemen and women who sacrifice their lives daily to defend democracy. Like John McCain, my dad was caught, captured, and tortured in World War II, fighting a vicious dictator who killed millions of people. Now, I don't know about you, but I've had it with this current administration. I would love to have a president who represents decency, someone who doesn't lie, someone who's not afraid to show his tax returns, someone who believes in science, not just padding their own pocketbook, and someone who wants to unite the people, not divide them. I hope you're registered to vote, and please consider supporting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in this most important election of my lifetime, and probably yours too. Biden-Harris 2020. Thank you.
Wow.
All right. Well, thank you, Suze. And thank you, Brooke.
Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
ladies.
Much
you
love,
both.
much success. See you soon.
Can't wait.
Bye.
Yep.
I'll definitely see you
Good night,
soon.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.